Todd or Aaliyah?
I do not believe we have a quorum just yet.
Okay, not a quorum just yet. We will keep checking on that because we do have a consent agenda item approving the minutes from January. Do we have any public comments? Any public comments? Any public comments? Okay. All right. Well, let's go ahead and get started because I know folks are busy. I just want to go over, we're going to hear from local workforce system partners, and then if you can scroll, Aaliyah, and then we're going to have state workforce system. We're going to hear from folks there. We're going to talk a little bit about the workforce strategic plan and scorecard. So we're going to talk about that, and then we are going to adjourn. So that's what we're going to be doing. And we can go ahead and close that out if you want, but I don't know. I know some people like to visually follow what you say, so I always like to try to show the agenda just to make sure everybody gets to be engaged. So we're going to go ahead and get started. And I believe our first presenter is going to be Carla Clark of Southern Oregon and Ann Adler and Academy students. Wait, is that one name of an organization or is that two people?
Those are two different presentations.
Okay, so Carla
with Oregon Business Academy, and then Carla Clark with Career Connected Learning Strategies down at Southern Oregon Education Service District.
Perfect. Okay, so we're going to have Carla up first. Is Carla here or are we way too early for Carla?
She's here, but we are early now, so that's great.
Yeah, well, I mean, we probably didn't need 15 minutes for public comment. Yep, or 5 minutes or 10 minutes for consent. So we'll work on that with the agenda next time because those, even if we do have those, they don't take that amount of time. So Carla, we are so glad you are here to go ahead and kick us off.
Thank you. Glad to see everybody. Thank you for having me today. I was invited to come and share a little bit about some of the work that has been underway with Career Connected Learning. And I am the STEM Hub Director in Southern Oregon. The region I serve is Jackson, Josephine, and Klamath County. I'm housed at the ESD. And I'm going to share, do I have ability to share my screen? I'm going to share my screen and jump right into a little presentation if that's all right. I'm going to push share, see if this.
Do you need permission? Can anybody share? I don't know who's owner of the Teams.
I think it's allowing me to go there. Let me see here.
Perfect.
Tell me if you can see.
We can. I can. I guess I should speak for myself.
Everybody else can see too? Okay. And forgive me just a moment. I'm going to unshare for just a moment. I want to pull open for myself my speaker view as well. Is that okay if I give this just one more second? I apologize.
You do not have to apologize. We are way ahead of time. Aaliyah,
okay.
I do want to check now because we do have more folks. Do you know if we are near quorum?
We currently have 6 members of the board here today.
And how many do we need for quorum? I'm sorry, I just off the top of my head, I do not know.
Just the majority, yeah.
13, so we are 1 away.
1 away, okay, thanks.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Carla, you can pick it up.
Okay, thank you for that moment. I'm gonna go back to sharing. Tell me if everything's in view. We're on? Okay. So there's this right here is just the introductory slide. There's soon to be a new title for some of you might have received a document right around the holidays that said strategic plan or career connected learning, strategic planning for Oregon. And we have been asked to make some additional edits. And so it's going to have a new title soon. And the title will be From Classroom to Career, Recommendations for Career Connected Learning from Oregon. And find my directional buttons here. Not letting me move forward. Are we moving forward on your end?
No,
We are
No.
not.
No, okay.
If the button doesn't
See
work,
here.
sometimes you can try your,
Oh, how about
yeah,
that?
right,
Found
yep.
the right one. Okay. I want to just start with sharing just a little bit about some history of this. The recommendations for strategies for career connected learning in Oregon is not something that just came about this year, but the idea of it came as we go back a little bit in time. I want to go back a little bit in time to about 2019. At that time, Beth Wiggum and Jim Taylor had been taking a look at, what was happening in Oregon around career learning. I don't even think at that time, and I know some others are on the call here that might have, if I don't get all the details exactly right, forgive me. But know that they were looking and discovering what was happening around the state of Oregon around the ideas of career and tech ed and STEM and career connected learning before maybe we had adopted the term career connected learning. I think shortly into their endeavors, they joined forces with Eric Juniman from HEC. I think I see Eric on the call here. And Gabby Sloss at the time was doing some work-based learning work with ODE, and they formed a team and they included some folks from some other departments at ODE and higher ed, did a statewide scan, and also did some looking across the nation around what was happening for career readiness, career connected learning, and of the sorts throughout the nation, with the purpose of discovering, what is taking place, what are best practices, and what should be made available for everybody in Oregon. Shortly after that time, or during that time, they developed what was a prior version of this framework that you see on the screen here. This is the revised version that was developed or revised just in the last couple of years, but the bones of it were the same even just a few years ago. And it was taking a look at the mechanisms of, or the four domains of awareness, exploration, preparation, and training. And also, as they developed that or decided this is what the four domains should be for Oregon, here came the language of career connected learning. And this was after looking at what was taking place around the other states, what was happening elsewhere, and other states that were functioning really well seemed to have a framework. And so it was decided Oregon needed a framework. So from here, they were also taking a look at, okay, along with the framework, we have, I'm going back to my notes here for just a second. With this framework and getting voices from around the state, they also were looking at the CTE state planning group was meeting, and they were looking at a need to focus on middle school exploration. So with the need to focus on middle school exploration, they were taking a look at and had vetted the piloting of some products. One was U-Science, which is an aptitude interest assessment, and that was piloted and that began. There was also the development of the first round of career journey videos. And so those were to kickstart career connected learning with awareness and exploration. And furthermore, what was under consideration was how would the four groups of comprehensive counseling, CTE and STEM, work-based learning, community colleges with career pathways, how would they work together to implement and do the work of the four domains of career connected learning of awareness, exploration, preparation, and training to essentially create a career connected learning ecosystem. And so the questions of what do we need to do and how do we get started? And what kicked off some of this work was was the piloting of U-Science with the middle school exploration. This was funded through some CTE funds. From there, also, there was further conversation around who does career connected learning. And so this might be familiar to some of you. This is there was a lot of conversation. Well, it's our job in CTE, or it's our job in STEM, or it's our job at all the different people around the partnership wheel here. And so this wheel was created to show that we are all responsible and we all are engaged, and we need to be engaged in order to effectively do career connected learning for the state, for our students, for our young people in Oregon. And so Furthermore, there was conversation around what is needed, and there was talk about, well, we need a handbook, we need like a reference book, and then there was further discussion of not just a handbook that's going to sit on a coffee table, though. There needs to be some sort of one-stop shop, a resource hub, something where that would be interactive, where resources could be shared, and conversations could be had. It could be updated. It'd be moving, living, and active for years to come. And so with that, further funds were accessed and sourced. So ESSER funds were brought to the table to do the development of the careerconnectoregon.org. Along with that, more career journey videos were produced. Team Oregon Build last year, you might be familiar with some of the work of Team Oregon Build. And Youth Science was continued and made available for the regions in the state. And the Career Connected Learning Navigators were funded, and Oregon Employability Skills curriculum. I think many of you are very familiar with the Oregon Employability Skills, because that too has been a work that's been underway for many years. And furthermore, Team Oregon Build was also worked on. So you'll see some of the regions that were listed that helped either be a fiscal agent or helped produce and develop some of the work that was taking place. So with this work, these projects, they were either being built, shared, piloted, and continued. As that was all taking place as well, we had Senate Bill 3 underway. Senate Bill 3 and the Oregon's higher education and career path skills content standards. Through this work right here, those standards were adopted June 13th of 2024. And the 4 sections, I won't go into these, but there's the links here, so you'll have access to the slide deck. Within the Senate Bill 3 Pathway Skills Content Standards, there are 4 sections, and they really closely mirror and align to the Career Connected Learning Framework of awareness, exploration, preparation, and training. And so I'm trying to provide some context here as we lead up to the recommendations, the next recommendations. Oh, I think I just pushed the wrong button. Just a moment. I bumped right out of my slide deck. Here we go. Okay, back on, I think. As all this work has been underway throughout, I think I've only been working in public education here in Oregon since 2017, but always, and I think this has been a long ongoing conversation, the elephant in the room is always, what will this work continue? How will it continue? How will it be funded? As new initiatives come down the pike, we have, hesitant. There's always an early adopter. There's hesitant adopters, and there's some that decide, well, let's see if it even continues before we even dip our toe in it. And so, constantly, this is what's underway, and there have been talk of we need a strategic plan. And so last year, as we were wrapping up some of the work with the careerconnectoregon.org and the piloting and the sharing and usage of all the resources that have been described, we went to work to draft what we're now going to call recommendations, but to draft strategies that really are the bones and components of what could be a strategic plan. With this, though, we will call them recommendations, and the final draft should be coming very soon. We need to it's been under a little bit of a rewrite, and it will get back in front of some final viewers, and then that will be shared out. But as it stands within the draft here, there is also a link. Does everybody have access to the link by chance? If you wanted to read the draft.
I read it, yeah.
What was that? Yes? Maybe? Okay. Page 5 in the draft shares just a little bit about how we got started. And we went with a strategy of get clear, get focused, and get moving. And within that strategy, get clear, get focused, and get moving was set for the purpose of doing some interviewing folks who had been deeply, utilizing the tools and the resources that had been piloted and funded over the last couple of years. Surveying folks around the state, and also then some work group sessions to take a look at, what is working and what's not working, and how do we move this work forward. Here on, let me go back to my page again. I apologize. On page 8 in the document, these are just some impacts. So providing career awareness, exploration, preparation, and training is both learner relevant and directly linked to professional and industry-based expectations. The aim of CCL is to impact the lives of learners in these 3 ways. So learners will experience relevant and meaningful education, learners are prepared for their best possible future careers, and learners have agency to pursue happiness. These are the impacts that we intend, and you can read more deeply about this. On the next slide here, and starting on page 10 in the document, there will be 6, and page numbers might shift as the final draft comes out here, but currently there are 6 areas of priority and directions starting on page 10. And so first priority, infuse career-connected learning into education throughout Oregon. Number 2, this one I feel like should be in bold or bigger or up front. Number 1, secure sustainable, intentional, and ongoing funding. Number 3, provide equitable and early access to career-connected learning in Oregon. Number 4, influence public agenda setting. Number 5, deepen partner and family engagement. And number 6, pursue career and educational planning specific to every student. Each of these 6 priorities have key strategies and possible actions and outcomes that are mapped out starting on page 15. I want to just share a couple of examples of what this can look like, or what it could look like. So for example, on page 15, I'm going to switch screens for just a moment to pop over to show a couple of examples. Stop share. Share one more time. Okay. Can everybody see the page that says draft? Okay, thank you. So for example, this is page 15 of the draft. Engage educators broadly to build awareness and interest and competency in career-connected learning. Number 1 key strategy under infusing CCL in the education throughout Oregon. I'm not going to read all of this to you, but here are some strategies here. One right here, I'm going to highlight industry advocates. Mobilize industry partners to encourage administrators, school boards, and districts to take action in their CCL efforts. There's another strategy lower down that says, hold community meetings, getting, the involvement of your educators, your community partners, your families, and it could include your tribes and other organizations, industries. Bring folks together to have conversation about what is working, what's not working, and then action planning together. This has been, if I speak, and I live in Southern Oregon, so I can speak specifically to some examples where I've seen this be very powerful and working really well. In Southern Oregon and Klamath County, we have the schools in Klamath County have been some of our first and early adopters of the resources that have been funded and provided through Oregon. They are doing career-connected learning in ways mountains ahead of what some of our other districts in Southern Oregon are doing, and they're doing it really well. They're tight-knit, they're working together with their community, and they're seeing a wraparound effect because of it. Industry, for example, there's an example with Sky Lakes Medical. So high needs in the medical field for jobs. Sky Lakes Medical was not getting probably like much of our other healthcare industries around the state, not getting the number of applicants and workers needed to sustain the work that they're doing. So they came to the school district and said, hey, how can we partner with you? How can we help? Because Southern Oregon and Klamath County, they are They have taken a wraparound approach with career connected learning. They've got STEM specialists at the elementary level. So STEM integration is taking place. Students are getting a chance to do awareness and exploration early on. High school student leaders are providing some of the training to the younger students to build programs. As the students enter middle school, 7th and 8th grade, the middle schools are taking aptitude and interest assessments to discover what might the students be interested in? What might they be naturally good at as they prepare to select coursework for high school? And they are ahead of doing that. So they're taking those assessments and then learning what's available at the high school level as they go to select their classes. With implementation of some of those assessments in Southern Oregon, it has created an over 200% increase at Henley High School the first year of usage in CTE programs. So it's creating programs based on student interests and desires now to attend class and go to school and learn. With that, classes are full, programs are being built, data is being captured, and able to use that data to get additional funding to build the programs that the students are interested now because of the assessments that they're taking. Not only capturing what they're interested in, but also what they're naturally good at. It's creating hope for students who have not had other ideas otherwise about what they might do with their lives. As those students go into, let's just say, the healthcare coursework, Sky Lakes Medical is inviting them in for tours. They go in for tours if they're still interested, if they found an area of healthcare that they want to pursue. They then get picked up and they're able to do an internship. If they're still interested after their internship, they get brought on as an employee at Sky Lakes Medical, and Sky Lakes Medical is now funding their post-secondary education. And so here is this round robin approach of the fullness of what career connected learning can do. Some of this is happening because industry came to the education system and said, this is what we need. What are you doing? How can you help us meet the need? How can we work together? But there was another strategy lower down. Community meetings is listed as, I'm going to scroll for just a moment here, as a way to leverage helping. Here we go. Strategy number 2 under secure, sustained, and intentional and ongoing funding. So through holding community meetings, and again, I can speak to this one because we've done this in Southern Oregon, where we've brought all of our community partners and industry and educators together, specifically at a county level. And through those meetings, also held student panels where the students are having some voice and able to say, this is what we get to experience, this is what's working well, and other students saying, wait a second, what about us? And then the community coming around together and going, oh, how can we make the opportunities available for even the more rural students to have similar experience, or the best we can to match what's happening with the students that are having more opportunity because they're not as rural. I don't want to go into too much more detail there because I want to move forward and you might have questions. But this document, as it's being refined, you're going to have a full, a final document to have a look at. And with that, I might be able to move this over without, let's see, I have to stop share and move over. Maybe share one more time. Can you see the yellow page again? Can you see
Yes.
4 reasons? Okay.
Yes, yeah.
I want to thank you. Thank you for helping me stay on track here. I just read an article this morning. This article right here, 4 Reasons Gen Z is Struggling by Mark Perna. 2 of the 4 reasons, 2 of the 4 questions were so relevant to the work we're talking about right now, with having some strategies to move forward and how to move forward for Oregon for career connected learning. Am I a good match for the job? Nearly 40% of Gen Zers are struggling to determine this. They don't know. They don't have the confidence. Am I a good match for the job? Which of my skills align with the job's requirements? More than 1/3 of our young people are saying they're unsure how to assess this. Some of the components of our career-connected learning strategies and recommendations point to how to help our students have more confidence as they're making decisions, as they become adolescents and as they enter into high school, and they are having to make decisions for themselves on what career and education pathways they will have and they will make, and what decisions they will make, how much how much money they're going to make. Are they going to enjoy doing their job? What is it going to cost them? All these, and again, some of this career connected learning framework aligns so closely with the Senate Bill 3 standards that are in place. There are some recommendations and strategies on how we can help our students feel confident as they make decisions. It's a different world today than it was when many of us were in high school. And even if I think back to when I was in high school many years ago, there's a lot of pressure and a lot of stress of wondering, what am I going to do when I graduate, when I turn 18? Am I going to be off on my own? Am I going to be on the streets? Do I know what I'm going to do next? And if we can help our students with a plan that gives them the confidence to move forward, and they might still take a windy road. Giving them all this information still doesn't mean that everybody's going to have a left foot in front of the other and knowing exactly which forever job they're going to have, but we can help them with making the best next choice for today with the strategies and the recommendations we have. Between the career connected learning recommendations and Senate Bill 3 career path standards, there's still something missing. A strong definition of career readiness is needed. I know there's work groups underway right now working on really more fully defining what is career readiness. So thank you if you're on any of those task forces or work groups. And then also part of what was intended or has been on the list for a long time, even back when 2019, 20, probably before. This is 2019 and 20 is when I got brought to the table with some of this. The need for a system for tracking and accountability. So that is, we don't have a system like that in Oregon. Something else I learned recently is that we don't, and maybe I knew this, but maybe it didn't occur to me until I'd heard it spoken out loud, that we don't have running start in Oregon, like many other states around the nation. Where a student can go enter into community college and graduate not just with their high school diploma, but also with their community college degree. We have a lot of work to do. We're doing a lot of great work around the state with career connected learning. I hope that as I am working with the folks in my region and others around the state, that I'm imparting some sort of positivity and encouragement, because many of you, we are doing the work of career connected learning already as we go in so many ways. Having a system and having a plan to keep it funded and moving in a direction that helps move the needle for our students is imperative. Every student graduating should be able to articulate a career goal and a pathway to get there and what it's going to cost them. That too aligns with Senate Bill 3 standards. One last thing I'll touch on, and I think Beth Molenkamp is on the line here too. If you have more questions about this last piece that I'm mentioning here, the Building Oregon's Reimagined Accountability Framework, I'm going to ask Beth, if she doesn't mind, to be ready for questions if needed. But I was just introduced to this just a couple days ago, and this does speak to the need. It's Oregon acknowledging that we need a framework for accountability and systems. And so, again, this is another step in the right direction of us trying to bring everything together and how this can work. And I'm going to pause right there and just say, does anybody have questions? Or Beth, even did you want to follow up with what I'm just mentioning? Or do you want me to share the document? Because I also have the document up.
You can if you'd like. I think the main thing that we're concerned about is that we're needing more data. We want to be able to measure the effectiveness of the work that we're doing. And currently, because our systems don't talk to each other, the K-12 system doesn't necessarily talk to the post-secondary or workforce systems, it's really hard to measure the effectiveness of the work that we're doing. And that information is important for us to be able to continuously improve the systems that we do have. Thanks.
I see.
Carla.
I'm sorry, Carla. This is Sherry. I see Martha has her hand up. Martha Schrader.
Martha, you're muted.
You are muted, Martha.
I am now unmuted. I was wondering if you can get these slides to us. Is that possible? As
Yes.
a link? This presentation, and I'm assuming all the presentations will do the similar thing for us. Okay, thank you.
Sure, it looks like David Gerstenfeld has his hand raised.
Oh, there you go, David. Sorry, I didn't see you. Thank you.
No, no problem. Yeah, I was just curious, you talked about needing the data. And from the workforce side particularly, do you know what data you need? And is that something that's been explored or just a need that's been recognized and will kind of take more work to fully define what you need to kind of measure the outcomes?
I think we're always in need of workforce data, but I also believe that we have, and so we're always asking for the input, and we have resources at our fingertips that are easily accessible, like Lightcast and our workforce boards, locally, and the local folks that are doing data on workforce needs. So that's great, but again, any workforce data, again, we want to bring you to the table for this always, because that is an important component. I think more specifically, when I say we need data and accountability, is I think we're speaking to the education system. We're speaking to there's not, we have certain parts of education that have a very robust, tracking system. Career and Tech Ed, for example, has a system for tracking that, we can look back over many years and look at our Oregon data. We can compare it with national data, and we know that every student that participates in Career and Tech Ed is more likely to attend school, more likely to graduate, more likely to go on to post-secondary, more likely to succeed in career regardless of the career path they choose. We don't have that data per se, or a system that would encapsulate all of the career connected learning experiences a student might have. If you go back to, I'll go back on my slide all the way back to the very beginning right here. For awareness, exploration, preparation, and training, these activities can take place early on, through early learning and kindergarten and elementary school. This awareness and exploration can be taking place. Ideally, we want it taking place early. And by the time you're in high school, you're moving on to preparation and training, but you'll also notice that this is kind of a roundabout. So we're always going to be becoming aware of more about ourselves, more about what's out there in the world, age appropriately, and then making decisions about, what kinds of preparation and training we're going to encounter. We don't have a consolidated system for the state for these components for tracking.
Thank you.
And I think I would add too, David, that even if we have a more expansive system for K-12, we use a different identifier for them than we do use it for post-secondary or workforce. And that's where, as we are identifying, creating these systems, we need to make sure we have a bridge that will help us track individuals longitudinally.
Any other questions? Todd.
Hey, thanks. Maybe a little bit more just information sharing and awareness providing. The WTDB has been talking for several years and is currently engaged in work around a sort of workforce system scorecard. It continues to evolve. We're closing in on some upcoming meetings around our strategic planning work, of which this executive committee is advisory to that work. That strategic planning work will also include further development via conversations, discussions, and thought partnering around that scorecard, so that we will, in the end, hopefully, have a broader, more unified, comprehensive way of tracking what's working well, what's not working well. Why are we ranked 46th in the country? I'm going to mess this up, Van Cat, but I know it's a big passion of yours, Deb Mumhills and others in our work. When it comes to math and science scores, what does that all mean? So I've reached out to several folks within the public workforce system and at ODE and elsewhere to join us in this work to talk about particular data points. Obviously, we can't try to capture, all of the data points, but how can we grab some, Carla, that are meaningful and give us a good indication of what to track to gauge success, whether they're leading or lagging indicators. So more to come from that from the WTDB. That work is starting. It's already started and will continue over the next 60 days or so.
Venkat, did you have your hand up? Yeah.
Hey, Carla, thank you for your presentation. I have a couple of questions. I think the first one is you mentioned one of your challenges is that the K through 12 system doesn't really talk to the post-secondary system. Or I think it was somebody else who mentioned that. I think it was Beth.
Beth.
So who is responsible for making that happen? Number one. And then number two, how do you see this board helping you?
Beth, do you know the answer of who's responsible for making
Well, I think
it happen?
I think it's an interagency responsibility. It can't just be, one organization. And because of, FERPA and just, confidentiality, it makes it a little bit tricky. But yes, we need to get people together to create a plan. I know some people are sort of working on that already, but we need to be really thoughtful, and it has to have multi-partners to create that, because everybody has to bring like their understanding of their systems and everything else and find the places where we have opportunity. And I think I forgot the second part of your question. Okay.
How can you help
How
us?
do you see this board helping you?
Oh, this board, that's right. Well, I think there's probably people on this board that would be really important in that discussion. So we should not have a whole board maybe, but definitely have representatives involved in that work, and then be able to report back so that we feel confident that we have a statewide system that we can support and will work for the state too.
Okay.
Also, the HEC is already starting on a project to connect CTE data across the two. And so if they can find that sort of unifying data point that can bring the two together, I think we can expand that into what we're talking about here.
And also, I understand that the Workforce Talent Development Board is underway with, preparing your own strategic planning. Is that correct? So, the bones of what I've just shared with you, and even as the final document, as that gets completed, if it aligns with what you envision, then use it. It's available. The work is all of this work has been, culminating over time with many partners, and I would say, use Senate Bill 3, use this work to help infuse whatever it is that you're working on.
David, you had another point?
Yeah, I was just going to comment on the data piece. We have a lot of workforce data at the employment department, and either through some of the things that we have, PRISM or the other data sharing, or if it's more ad hoc with like the regional economists and the workforce analysts, and also hopefully exploring looking at the Oregon longitudinal data system, and if that might be an opportunity to link some of these things together. Just I hate to see us creating more longitudinal data systems in parallel with other ones, if there might be opportunities to consolidate some of them with the appropriate privacy securities in there.
Totally agree. One really good system will be much better than a bunch of other systems.
Thank you. Any other questions? Todd?
Oh, just sort of building on what David said. I'm not involved in the details on any of this, but there are modernization efforts happening at the employment department and at the HEC. And so maybe the timing here is good. Of course, that is probably a little bit longer term of a process, but I think it's better to have these conversations up front in those modernization efforts than waiting. So good timing, I think. Is that right, David? Don't you think?
Definitely, yeah. I mean, we have a lot of our requirements out there, so we're hopefully going to be releasing our RFP very soon, but there's still a lot of opportunity as we design things. So I would definitely encourage you, I can connect you with kind of our contact for our workforce modernization and just to talk about what data elements you're looking for or what those possible connection points might be. And even if it isn't defined in a lot of detail right now, just making sure that they're looking for opportunities to align things and keeping possibilities open, I think is good. So I'm happy to pass the right person on, maybe to you, Todd, and you can share.
Yeah, that'd be great. Thank you, David.
Mhm. I think the big thing for me is the attempt and the work, not the attempt, the work at coordination, right? It's the coordination of who is doing what, who all is doing what, right? Is the key because there are folks who have a piece of this work who feel like they're operating in isolation. There are folks who don't know so and so is doing this work, and it is that bit of confusion. And also, I actually think there is some possibility with funding around this particular issue. So I think there's some there. Any other questions, anybody? Any other questions? Okay, Carla, thank you so much for jumping in. And I know we were a little early for you, and we're going to circle back to quorum because I think we have quorum. Is that right?
We
All
officially
right.
have quorum, yes.
Okay, so we're going to jump back to that before we move to our next agenda item. So what we have here is approving the minutes from the January Executive Committee meeting. So I need somebody to make a motion to do that. And it can't be me. I mean, it could be, but I won't do it.
Carrie, I'll move approval. This is Kim.
And I'll second.
Okay. Aaliyah, did you get everybody? Did you hear who it was?
I got the motion to approve. Who was it seconded by?
This is Venkat. I'm second.
Thank you.
All right. All those in favor, either say aye or use the emoji or however you can indicate that you are aye. Okay. All right. I see those. And then anyone opposed? Okay. Anyone opposed? Anyone abstain? Okay.
Oh,
All right.
aye.
Oh, go ahead.
No, I just said aye.
Okay, all right. So thank you all for that. I know we are a little out of order and we'll condense the welcome and the public comments and the consent agenda at our next, unless we have more things, so we don't get so wonky. And I don't know if Anne is with us yet. Is Anne?
Yeah, she's
Yeah.
She is?
Hello.
Awesome. Okay, so Anne, you have 15 minutes and we will turn it over to you.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for giving us this time. I'm Ann Adler, CEO of Oregon Business Academy. Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
I'm accompanied by Casey Sanchez, Associate Director, Oregon Business Academy. Kaylee Tolley, our brand new program manager at Oregon Business Academy, and Finn Evans, one of our students from this past summer. Hi, Finn. I don't know how much you all know. We're a not-for-profit organization, a relatively young one, started at the end of 2022 to revive a program called Business Week that had existed in Oregon for many years, successfully changing the lives of high school students. And COVID killed it. So Oregon Business and Industry, led by Jordan Papay, who was the chair at that time, called for the program to be revived. And so we were created to do that. So we ran our first program in the summer of 2023 at Oregon State University. And last year we served 100 kids from across Oregon, all backgrounds. We ran our second program last summer, 194 kids, and we are seeking to grow and serve more students like Finn. It is a program that is life-changing for many of the students who attend. And I'll let Finn speak for himself about his experience at Business Week.
Is my mic working?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, cool. Sorry, the blue border isn't showing up. So I had a great, I guess I'll just get right into it. I had an amazing experience at Business Week, and many compliments to the program organizers for reviving it after COVID. I think it's a super valuable program, especially for people my age. Um, where do I start? So Oregon Business Academy was a great opportunity for myself and my peers to develop ourselves professionally. I think our biggest takeaway that at least me and my peers have discussed was just business awareness in general. A lot of the people that I was um, working with at OBA came into the program not really understanding the core mechanics of business. I think, especially in public schooling, our education relating to business and business ownership sort of falls short in some aspects. And I think OBA helped myself and my peers kind of fill in those gaps. Um, Another thing that I took away from the program was the option of business ownership. I think, especially with the way that college and career pathways are engineered in our primary school system, a lot of kids my age and within my generation don't really consider business ownership to be an option. We're kind of driven towards career work, and a lot of the people that I met at OBA were given the encouragement that I think they needed, myself included, to kind of start their own entrepreneurial ventures, which isn't something that I think we would have been able to do without the program. I myself recently have started my own business, and running that has been an enriching experience. And I'm really excited to, thank you. I'm really excited to move forward with that and also to return to OBA as an intern in the summer, because I think it's really important that other people my age get the same experience that I did. So again, many compliments. I really enjoyed the program, and I'll throw it back over to Anne.
Thank you so much, Finn. In case you weren't able to see the materials that were part of your package, Business Week is a week-long on-college campus program. Residential kids stay on campus for a full week, living in the dorms, eating in the cafeterias. We recruit students from all over the state. They come, they arrive on a Sunday. They are assigned to a team or a company. Each company has a corporate volunteer company advisor and an intern, a former student or a college student, who works with them throughout the week to ideate products, choose a product that they're going to develop into a company, pitch that product to a group of judges or volunteers from the corporate community at the end of the week. So all throughout the week, they're creating that business plan. They're also running a BizSim simulation program where they simulate serving as a management company, as a management team for a Fortune 500 publicly traded company. So there's a lot of decisions that they're making every day about inputs, pricing, marketing, research, and those have the simulation software provides feedback from the market on those decisions. So it is a blitz of business doing that they are learning throughout the week. And what we hear from the students, confidence is a huge thing that our students take away from the program. The volunteers and parents, they describe the kids coming in on Sunday and kind of, not really, the whole, they blossom. By the end of the week, these kids who are coming in at the beginning of the week, really not knowing what to do or even what they're capable of by the end of the week, because they have to get in there with a team of kids that they don't know and solve problems and come up with their business plan, that it really opens their eyes to their own capabilities and their ability to add value to a team. So that's what we hear from our students. For many, it's life-changing. We do serve a majority of our students are low to moderate income. A majority of our students are students of color. We are way overrepresented in every underserved community category, except for one, which we want your help to change. We are underrepresented in our rural students. We served 13% rural students at Business Week in 2024. We would like to increase that. We'd like to make 20% of our students rural and keep going from there, because 42% of Oregon high school students are from rural communities. So we need help. We need help to spread the word. We need help to find sponsorships for our students, because a very high proportion of our kids attend Business Week at no charge, or the maximum contribution that our students make is an $18.95 tuition. Our cost per student is $3,900. So we need help to get the word out to students across the state. We're working with schools to get the word out, with not-for-profit organizations like Adelante and College Possible and Project Youth Plus. We are funded by the Ford Foundation and many other. Our primary source of funding is from the corporate community. So we're looking to partner to expand. And if there's an opportunity to, we're working to partner with the workforce investment boards across the state, with the chambers of commerce. So we're really just trying to get the word out to both students and prospective partners that this is a really high impact program for kids. And we want to see more of them at Business Week. And we want to, once they come to us and they experience kind of the revelation that many of them experience at Business Week, that we can then connect them with opportunities back in their communities through partnerships with businesses, the workforce investment boards, the chambers of commerce, and all the various other partners that they're out there who are invested, who want to help kids develop those pathways. Casey or Kaylee, do you have anything to add?
Just that, we really are excited to keep getting this mission out to students across the state. Feels like we're really igniting something over the past couple years that we hope is going to keep fanning into a bigger and bigger flame. We could see more students like Finn and his peers get inspired to use business as a vehicle to navigate towards success. And we're really excited about that mission. And so it's something we hope to keep growing and spreading.
I want to apologize because we stole Kaylee from Newburgh High School because she was such a champion for this program. Kaylee, what have you seen for your kids who have gone through the program?
Yeah, I love the Oregon Business Academy and Business Week. I was first a teacher and just a supporter of the program. Last year, I was able to go to camp and be there as an educator, and it is just incredible to see the transformation of students from the first day to the last day. I'm super passionate about business education, and it is super exciting to see so many people from the business industry who are excited about encouraging that next generation of business leader. So I'm excited to be a part of the journey, and I know that all students can really benefit from this program.
What questions can we answer?
Yes, Martha.
Yeah, so Anne, it's nice to see you again.
Hi.
This is Martha Schrader, and I think what you're doing is fantastic. So those of us, at least are at level as a commissioner, frequently go out to do check-ins with our local businesses, small as well as traded sector. Do you have something available that we can include in a packet for our businesses in Clackamas County so they're aware that this is an opportunity for kids? And that would be something, as I said, as we move ahead with our annual review of who's in business here in the region, as well as in particular our county, and working with our economic development department, making sure that this information of what you're doing with workforce pipeline is out there. So
Yes.
yes. Okay.
And we can certainly after this call send some resources to you all, some
Okay, thank you.
links. And I mean, digital is easy. Are you thinking more digital or are you looking for something in print?
I think, frankly, and I apologize for the noise in the background. I think that digital is fine with links. If there was just a list of links as we went to see our larger folks, our businesses
Yes.
and our site, that we could give them and say, here's something that you need to look at, and this is something you're interested in. It's just one
Yes.
more piece of information helping you and helping our businesses out there.
100%. Yes,
Okay.
and we so appreciate it. Thank you.
You bet.
Todd, your hand is up twice.
Is it gone now?
Yeah.
They put my hand down. Okay.
Yeah. Well,
No,
I kinda-
Todd.
Thank you, Sherry. So,
There
and
we go.
thank you so much for coming, and Casey and Kaylee, and I just really appreciate you sharing about this, what I think is a really great program. And most of all, Finn, I want to thank, oh, he just left. Finn, come back. Hey, there you are. So I don't want to put you on the spot, Finn, but you impressed me thus far, and I'm really glad you're here. If you don't mind, could you share a little bit more about your business, and tell us, what it is and how it's going? Give us a little bit more on that work.
Yeah. So, I mean, following OBA, I've gotten involved with quite a lot. I go to college full time. I started a window detailing business, actually. I found that it was something that was relatively easy to scale and the startup cost was low. So I've had some success with that, especially with family and friends and people in my neighborhood and those sorts of things. I also help out with my family's agricultural business. I'm one of the students who attended OBA last year that was from a sort of a rural background. And like Anne said, I think it would be great if more people from my community were given access to the program, because personally, it's helped me a lot. I've gotten more involved with my sort of the inner workings of my family's business since I completed the program, because I have a higher understanding of really what goes into that. We're a small business ourselves, and our main outlet is at the Portland State University Farmers Market. And so I guess following the program, my increased business awareness and networking opportunities have provided myself and others around me with the opportunity to grow our own businesses, scale what was already there, and we've seen some success following the program. And I attribute that wholly to OBA and the people that I met there. So I hope that answers your question. Can you guys tell I've never done this before?
No, you've done
You're
an
doing
amazing
awesome,
job.
Finn.
Amazing.
You're
Thank
good.
you so much. I really
Yeah,
appreciate
thank
it.
you very much.
Quinn's only getting started. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
the future is bright.
Now I feel like you are ready to do your business pitch. That's how I feel. Right.
Thank you very much.
I'm getting business pitch energy. So that's really great. So any other questions? Any other questions? Well, we thank you all, and we thank you so much for inspiring young people in this way, and for sharing the inspiration. And it's a big part of what helps young people figure out their career path is exposure. I did programs like that when I was a kid, and so went on to do a bunch of things. So I think it was helpful. So thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right.
Bye-bye.
All right, we are now on to state workforce system, and we have Donna Llewellyn, who is going to be talking about Title II, WIOA Title II, I should say. So is Donna with us yet?
I am. Hi, Sherry. It's nice
Hi.
to see you again.
Hi.
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, perfectly.
Great. I am also going to share my screen, and I promise you will get a copy of this afterwards. I apologize it didn't come sooner. I was out unexpectedly last week. So, and why did it? I love it when your computer just decides to have a mind of its own. Sorry about that. It's sharing you. I love that. It was sharing you back to yourselves. Sorry about that. There, can you see my screen now?
Yes, you're okay.
Okay, so
You might want to put it in presentation mode, but yep, you're all set.
there you go. So thanks for allotting time for me today on your agenda. While I have the honor of serving as the director of the Office of Community Colleges and Workforce Development at the HEC, today I'm actually here as the director for, as Sherry mentioned, the WIOA, Adult Education and Family Literacy Act grant, also known as Title II. And I'm just going to share with you a brief program update. And when I'm in presentation mode, I can't see if anybody has questions or wants to interrupt me. So Todd, can I ask you to please do that, or Sherry, let me know?
Yeah, we'll keep an eye. I keep an eye on hands going up as best I can.
Great, thank you. So the first thing I want to start with is I'd like to start with our philosophical approach. So our approach to Title II service delivery is really represented by this graphic, which is the learners are at the center, and then we have to work together with our funder, Octay, our state team, all of our Workforce Innovation Opportunity Act partners, and our local providers. And together we just wrap around the learner to provide services. I've organized today into kind of 5 key themes, and the first really shines the light on we still have a lot of work to do. Title II programs in Oregon during the last couple of years have really shifted who we're serving. But I wanted to talk a little bit about the demographics for Oregon. And this is based on the community survey that was done in 2023. So there are about 225,000 working Oregonians who do not have a high school diploma. 13% of working age Oregonians who are unemployed don't have a high school diploma, and 20% of Oregonians actually speak English. They don't speak it well or at all, and another 20% speak an actual language other than English at home. Our enrollment for the program has increased for the 4th consecutive year. So you'll see that dip at the time of the pandemic. We have essentially recovered to our pre-pandemic levels. And we're really excited about that. And we are actually on track to see yet another increase for the 24-25 year. The second point I'd like to make is really around giving you an idea of who the students are. So I talked about the 56%, or talked about the number of Oregonians. In our Title II programs, 56% of our participants speak a native language other than English. We have over 32 languages represented amongst our Title II participants. Other than English, our top 6 languages are Spanish, Ukrainian, Russian, Vietnamese, Chinese, and Arabic. I always say that wrong. Sorry about that. And then 61% of our participants last year self-identified as an individual of color. So just wanting to shine a light on, this is a very diverse population that our program serves. Our students are changing, which brings me to this third point. Our class enrollment has shifted in terms of demographics significantly over the past few years. And as such, our program has had to make adjustments in the support that we are providing to the local programs. And I'll talk about that in a few minutes. But first, I'd actually like to share with you some data. So our statewide measurable skill gain is nearing pre-pandemic peak performance. So I'm really excited about that. You will see the black line had a pretty significant dip. That's actually our target numbers. And I'm actually kind of happy to to share that we successfully did negotiate new performance levels for 22. You'll see that dip as a result of that, which actually helped set us up for success and to also help us in terms of providing a cushion to avoid sanctions. In case you're wondering what makes up a measurable skill gain, for Title II, there are a variety of ways a participant can earn a measurable skill gain. And you'll see that there are, you'll see revised, that particular MSG piece was added to, or was updated to remove the after exit condition. So now Title II participants can remain enrolled in a Title II program and be enrolled in post-secondary. And that's significant, particularly for our students who are co-enrolled in adult basic skills and perhaps a career technical education course as part of an integrated education and training model. Unfortunately, we are seeing some challenges in our employment outcomes, which our program's not taking lightly. This measurable skill gain area particularly is going to be a focus of our program over the next couple of years. So we're going to be putting some really concentrated effort in providing professional development and technical assistance to our local programs so that they can start taking a look at this and figuring out what, if anything, we should be doing differently within our Title II program to move that line back to where we'd like to see it, which is above that federal target. The good news is that our fourth quarter after exit has exceeded employment, or exceeded the federal target for the second consecutive year. And while we're still exceeding, I just want to point out that downward trend, that real sharp downward trend from 22, 23 to 23, 24 did not go unnoticed and is also an area of focus. So we're going to be taking a real good look at what are we doing, or what should we be doing to prepare our students to enter more strongly or stay employed for longer periods of time. So just wanted to point out, we recognize we have some work to do in these areas, and we are working to address it. This next piece I'm excited about. Our median second quarter earnings has exceeded the federal target for the last 3 years. As you can see, it's still holding pretty strong and it's exceeding targets. So we're happy to see that. It means that our, I mean, it's probably a reflection a little bit of the bump in entry-level wage earnings for some sectors, but it's really great to see that we did see that continual upswing during the pandemic in our median earnings. This next slide talks about credential attainment. It's a very complicated metric, but we have been exceeding the target and hope to turn that trend more back upwards. What we believe we're seeing is that change in demographics is having a little bit of influence on this particular credential attainment benchmark. So we're keeping an eye on it, and we're working with our local programs on that area. So when I say we're working with our local programs, what does that look like? So finally, the last point I want to make is that we really are emphasizing data literacy, and we use that throughout our state delivered professional development and technical assistance to our local programs. And here are some ways in which that happens. We actually have a continuous cycle of improvement, which includes an annual monitoring in the spring, a program self-reflection exercise during the summer where they do a local program risk assessment. And then we meet with them to develop a program improvement plan. Every Title II provider in the state of Oregon has a program improvement plan on an annual basis, which we continuously revisit and provide tailored technical assistance for. We also have not only monthly meetings with our local Title II program directors, but we also have monthly meetings with our local program data professionals. So we're working with them on how to examine the data to improve reliability and validity through routine data management procedures. So we actually do a data audit or a data review on a quarterly basis to kind of show programs where they may be missing data sets or where they may have students who may need some additional assistance or are ready to test. And then we also promote data excellence by providing ongoing professional development and technical assistance. And I mentioned this before, but our data, we really work hard to make sure that data informs our strategic partnership and collaboration. So not only do we have those monthly data professional meetings, we actually hold an annual data summit that's a convening for data analysis, goal setting, and resource sharing while addressing additional professional learning goals related to data and showcasing the expertise of local directors and data professionals. It's a required participation from our local programs. We actually encourage them to bring their local director, their local data professional, as well as their lead instructor, if possible, so that they together as a team can take a look at the data and work together to understand what it's telling them and what interventions might be possible or necessary. We also hold an annual Adult Basic Skills Conference. If you've not had an opportunity to attend, I would encourage you. It happens in the fall. It's a professional learning community that actually has brought in national experts. We've had other states participate and present. Our local partners come to share promising practices. We provide technical assistance on specific topics and also PD for a variety of other identified topics. We have a statewide professional learning community. All of our programs are required to participate in a professional learning community, whether it's at the local level or at the state level. And we really, we provide technical assistance and guidance for those professional learning communities to help them identify promising practices and how to integrate those into their existing programs. And then we do have a very strong connection with our career pathways, community college programs. We have our students in those programs are completing at higher rates. Our IET programs are showing successful outcomes for students, and we are intentionally working together to braid our career pathways, statewide community college investment with IET programs in Title II to build additional opportunities and leverage the funding from both the state and the local area. So how does that happen? We actually have a professional development plan and framework for our 5-year grant cycle. So the current PD framework we're in is for program year 2022 through 2027. So we're kind of sort of right in the middle of this PD plan, but it does focus on 5 key areas. Learning standards. All of our programs are required to adhere to having learning standards embedded in their curriculum, and we keep a close eye on that. We have professional, we talked about the program and the student data piece a little bit. We also have a focus on distance learning and digital literacy. We recognize that some of the challenges with regards to digital literacy is not just a student problem, it's a professional development opportunity. So it's kind of a double approach. Like, how do we help provide supports for students, but also scale up our instructors in the classroom? I mentioned integrated education and training, as well as focusing on how to motivate and engage adult learners. And the piece behind that is really important because it helps with us with student retention and retainment, so that the longer we keep them in our program, the more likely they are to complete and succeed. So we're really focused in on how do we motivate them, get them engaged, how do we have them help us improve our programs. So in closing, just a couple of things. We just want to remind everyone that our program enrollment is rebounded and increased 63% since the pandemic. We have opportunities left to further engage our eligible population. In that population, we are serving a more diverse population. As such, we're responding to those shifting demographics. We're really looking to equip our participants with skills to open doors to future opportunities. And we really do believe in that partnership and collaboration with our local programs. We want them to feel comfortable coming to us and saying, this isn't working for us and we need your help, rather than feeling afraid to come to us because they might, quote unquote, get in trouble or something. So with that, I will stop sharing and we'll be happy to answer any questions. That was a lot of information thrown at you at once. And as I promised, I will send you the PowerPoint presentation.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much. You know, one of the elephants in the room is the federal situation around the federal hostility, quite frankly, hostility toward the work that you're doing. Any word on that? Any coordination with the state, anticipating or thinking about, you know, changes that could happen that we should know about?
Yeah, so basically what I would say, and what I've told our staff on our team for Title II and our local programs, is there's a lot of noise right now. There's a lot of noise happening around our programs, both at the federal level. And there's a lot of unknown. But what we do know is we have a job to do and we have students who need us. And until we're told not to do that, we stay the course. We stay focused. We stay with that student in the middle. We support each other. We try to stay in connection with our federal partners. I am a part of the National Adult or the National Association of State Directors of Adult Education and Literacy. And so I try to stay connected with them so that I can share information as it's late breaking. But as far as Title II goes, we've not received any official anything with regards to WIOA Title II. Unlike our partners who did receive a note from DOL, we did not receive a similar one yet, knock on wood, at HEC regarding Title II. Now, there was a Dear Colleague letter that came out last Friday, but that was not direction from our Octave funders regarding this particular grant. Did that answer your question, Sherry? Oh, sorry, you're on mute still.
Sorry, I like to go off and go on, so I'm not making noise, but I just know it's on everyone's mind. So
Yeah.
so I just wanted to speak it because we can't hide from it.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
Yeah, my position about all of this is I'm gonna do what I do until they force me somehow not to. So yeah, any other questions about this really, really great work, and so great to hear about the post-pandemic rebound.
Thank you.
That is great. That is great. Any other questions? Any other? Am I missing anybody? Looking for hands? I don't see any. All right.
Okay,
Thank you
great.
so much, Donna. We really appreciate your time and your input. And now we are going to be turning it over for the rest of our time together to Lindsay. Lindsay, are you here?
I am. Good afternoon,
Okay.
everyone. Can you hear me
Mhm.
okay?
Yes.
Great. Okay. Okay. Well, we will just jump in and
I expected about 20 to 30 minutes, depending on how much discussion you want to have. But the topic today is the WTDB's strategic plan. It is time. Again, all of you know this. I have spoken to some of you and still have some additional interviews to do. So the goal today for me is to really give you an update on the very, very beginning of this process and get some discussion and input from all of you. And then we also want to be discussing the idea of how do we really get to a scorecard that is aligned and supports a 2025-2026 strategic plan, and also really lives into the intent of who you want to be as a board and the role that you play in Oregon. So I was brought in to support this work. I was brought in to really start in December. So in December, I spent quite a bit of time just pouring through documents and getting an understanding of some of the latest pieces that should inform the 2025-2026 strategic plan and a scorecard effort. And then I had the privilege of really talking to some of you, probably adding up to about 20 individuals, many of them in leadership positions and in partner agencies, including also local workforce board directors. It is and including private sector. We still have about 4 or 5 of those left to go, but enough, I think, to be able to give you some ideas of where I think the direction is going and sort of the pushes, I think, that folks might want to see. So with that, I do want to just pause and make sure both Todd and Sherry, does that sound all right for me to just sort of update on what I've heard so far, give you an idea of where I think this is going, and then open it up for some facilitated discussion?
Yeah, that sounds good. I think it would keep people in the loop. Mm-hmm.
Okay, great.
That's great.
All right, I'm gonna get down to business, take my jacket off here. Okay.
It's getting serious.
Yeah, this is gonna get serious. That's right. Don't be afraid. So here's some interesting pieces that I want to throw out to you. And I am just going to go through sort of a list of common thoughts and ideas that so far have emerged in this initial stage of outreach. And these are both, I think, on the strengths of the workforce board, as well as the weak points or the opportunities where this round of a strategic plan and really getting concrete and real about a scorecard could go. So I will say that I have heard repeated themes around this board, the WTDB, playing a very important role in the state of Oregon and in the broader workforce system. And that includes, of course, what is defined as the WIOA system, as well as all partner organizations and reaching, further into partnerships with K through 12, as well as post-secondary. And there is sort of a very strong thinking that you all in the past and right now play an important role as a brain trust, as an idea board, as priority setters. You have demonstrated in the past where you all actually are the designers of really important initiatives and ideas. Future Ready Oregon being one of those, right? Where really, because of the makeup of the WTDB and because of your willingness to roll up your sleeves and put real ideas and innovative ideas, asking what if questions, you have been able in the recent past to create initiatives that in some ways were quite groundbreaking, or in many ways were quite groundbreaking for Oregon. So when I talk to stakeholders and leadership, there is agreement that this is an important role, that this board in particular and the makeup of this board has played and can continue to play. Then there are common themes too, and questions and discussion around, but what kind of board are we really, and what is our capacity for change? And I would say that overwhelmingly, everybody does understand that you are a strategy and policy board. That because the board itself does not often have access to big funding and big grants, you in some ways are limited to being a strategy and policy board. But on the other hand, maybe that is the intent that you need to live into. I am just going to pause really quick because I am getting an internet, an internet stutter, I'm going to call it. Okay, is that better? Was I freezing? No, I only see one face. So Josh is shaking no. Okay, so I'm good. Thanks. Thanks,
You are
Josh.
totally fine. You are
Okay.
not freezing.
Okay.
I generally like to go off screen so that people can focus on the speaker and the
Perfect.
materials and not what I'm
That's great.
doing, but you're
Yeah.
fine.
Okay. Okay. That's great.
good.
No, I just maybe it may have just been on my end because okay, great. So so now I will just quickly go into I think some of the opportunities that we're hearing, or actually, you know, you could couch it as some very candid thoughts about where this board does have authority, where this board does not, where this board has the most potential, and where it just does not. So for sure, I have heard repeated themes across the interviews so far that there is a concern of duplication, that there is a concern of redundancy, that there is still a need for this board to really understand what is the niche and the distinct value add that we serve when nested in to the greater system of workforce development, education, and training in the state of Oregon. Much of this, too, is dependent on certain factors being in place that we know to be true for other state workforce boards across the country. And you all probably know them as well, right? And that is, do you as a board really have the ear of your governor? Does this governor prioritize workforce issues to a point where this governor is going to hear you and see you as the credible convener as well as credible advisor on workforce issues? If not, then heading into the strategic planning process, what are the priorities, or again, the niche and very distinct value add that you serve? So depending on the conditions, and again, this is all just from themes and common themes and conversation in my interviews so far, depending on those conditions of your credibility and your clout, and if workforce is a priority of the governor, because you are a governor's board per federal mandated legislation, right? There are different approaches heading into both a scorecard as well as a strategic plan. That's where I would like to go with conversation today. I would like to hear directly from all of you on, first of all, reflections on thoughts on anything I've said, you know, the strengths that you have, the strengths that you have demonstrated, the concepts of you being a brain trust, an idea board, priority setters, but that you are at the strategy and policy level, not necessarily the implementation level, which is not necessarily what a state workforce board should be doing anyway, right? Per federal legislation. And then I'd love to hear comments and thoughts on how big of a priority is workforce for this administration in the state of Oregon. Do you have the ear and the credibility? And then depending on that answer, what does that mean in terms of heading into a strategic plan for the next 2 years that would be coupled and hooked, I think, tightly with a systems scorecard. So I'll stop there, and I would love, Sherry, I don't know if you want to kick us off with some comments and
Well,
responses.
I don't know if I want to because I don't want to. Well, the reason is I don't want to like set the tone. I don't want to dominate the tone. So yeah, I'd love to hear from some other folks, and maybe I'll pick up the rear because I
Okay.
have strong opinions, but we
Yes,
should
yes.
not.
Well, and for everyone, I want to preface this with, as somebody who has worked nationally in almost 30 states for the past 25 years, and as somebody who has worked directly with state workforce boards for that long, and as somebody who has worked in Oregon, I hope that you all know me, some of you know me well enough to not beat around the bush too, right? This is an opportunity, I think, from a consultant point of view, to really understand, again, what is your distinct value add as the State Workforce Board in Oregon? What are the conditions that you need to be the most effective state board? And how do you find the right levers to make those conditions real? And really live into the intent that you have in mind, and also that is federally mandated. So yes, I hope there are strong opinions, quite frankly. So I'd love to hear from others, but your hand up or unmute, go ahead and speak.
Yeah, any initial thoughts? I see some people. Does that mean you have something to say?
Adrian,
feel-
would you be willing to speak up since you are unmuted? And
are you? Is there more than one Adrian on?
Nope, it's you.
Tag, you're it.
Yeah. Well, you know, when you talk about the value add, speaking from my perspective, one aspect of the value add, then I'm going to go to the flip side of an area that I, through my own lens of experience, could see some increasing opportunities to align or understand. So the value add for me is just that we all come from different, we bridge, we're all part of this workforce ecosystem where you've got different organizations and institutions and types and structures in this one space with this common core purpose and focus on workforce development as is applicable to this across the state. That's the value add because of the diversity of experiences and knowledge that we bring. Another value add I would say is that I have found very helpful in this space, just being in the educational ecosystem, resources and speakers and information being brought into this space is something that if I had not been in this space, I might not have had access to or been aware of. And so that is a key value add for me because I'm like, oh, I didn't know that, or, oh, I need to connect with you, you know, at PCC because there's some things that we could partner on or align on. So there's the shared knowledge and the resources, but also the connection to potential partners beyond outside of the Workforce Talent and Development Board, but specific to workforce talent and development and education in my realm. On the other side of the house, I think I heard you mention in terms of, and I'm going to probably roughly paraphrase, something in terms of aligning with the governor's priorities. And I know in this space we've had HEC speak and come and be a representation. It would be helpful to from time to time have the direct voice of the governor in this space, just to help us level set and reaffirm, but also allow us time to give feedback on directly in terms of what other considerations and or challenges we are having as a workforce talent development board. And so the alignment, the check-in, a pulse check, or just even if she's so busy, face-to-face time, maybe once a year, something like that would be helpful because we have good representation on behalf of the office of the governor. But since I've been on board, and gosh, I think it's been a couple years, and correct me if I'm wrong, Sherry and the team, since I've been on board, I don't think I've been to a meeting in the 2 years I've been here where the governor has come, and that's been 2 years.
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, and so to me, to be a governor, it's just my own sentiment. If I have a convening task force or workforce board, I, Adrian, would like to at least show up sometime just to cheer, support, garner feedback, whatever. Just get some face time with the team that I've tasked and delegated to fulfill some important work. So I'll stop there because I'll continue rambling. But those are just a few of my thoughts from my perspective.
Mhm. That is great. I really appreciate that, Adrian. And two things I heard, and if others want to go in these similar directions. One is adding to what you really see is the distinct value add of the board. And so I love that you call out the diversity of experience and knowledge, and also the connections to that shared knowledge and those resources. And I think that aligns very much with this repeated theme that I'm hearing, that you all really are a brain trust. It is because of, again, the makeup of that knowledge and experience. So you're confirming that, but I also hear a real need. And that need is, how do we get the governor in our space, right? And understand her priorities so that we can then be the advising board that we should be, right, around workforce. So thank you. Awesome. Kim, can we hear from you as well?
Yes, thank you. Lindsay, nice to see you again.
As well.
As a reminder, I am the director of the local workforce board that serves the Mid-Valley, and I'm relatively new to this team. So I come in with sort of a couple of perspectives. But I would agree, first of all, I totally agree with everything you just said, Adrian. I feel like we need to do a better job as an entity to show our value to the governor and to the governor's office and get their attention, because everything that's been said is true, but somehow I feel like it's just tough. And this is not unique to the state board. I think this is true, frankly, with the local boards as well. How do we get the attention of the governor's office? How do we show our value? How can we articulate, in multiple ways what kind of value we can bring? And we've done that a little bit, and the HEC has helped us with this on focusing on her priorities, specifically around behavioral health and housing, because we know there are humongous workforce needs in both of those fields. And so have done studies and have, tried to kind of lean into that so that we're speaking, sort of her language and trying to provide solutions to challenges that have already been identified. The other thing I would just add is that we've got this assessment from the Continuing Improvement Committee, the KIC, that has a lot of time, a lot of energy, and a lot of resource was put into that effort. And I think it's a good document, and it would be really great but it requires the governor to do something and to take action, because we are limited as the state workforce board, because we are an advisory board to the governor. So there's only so much we can do as a body. So would love to find ways and problem solve and brainstorm on additional ways that we could get both the governor's attention and some of her staff as well.
That's great. Thank you, Kim. And Sherry, go ahead. Yep.
I was going to say, I will speak to that a bit. We do have a new representative, newish, from the governor's office, who is now on the board, whose name is escaping me right at the moment, even though I meet with her. Todd.
Sarah Foster.
Sarah, thank you. Sarah, thank you. And Sarah, and I have been starting some regular meetings to connect and to kind of get at this issue, Kim. And I think some of the key things that the governor is looking for is, as a coordinator, as an information provider, and knowing the landscape, so that the governor would be able to come to us and say, hey, I have this thing. What can you tell me about this, this, and this, as it relates to workforce? And I think that is one of the big things I have heard that would help the governor. I think the data conversations we had earlier about where data goes and who's coordinating that data. And it's not all the data in the world, but as a workforce board, what 5 to 10 things of data do we need to know that we can provide the governor when she needs to know it to help her contextualize what she needs to do? Like that, I think, is something we can think about. And then it's a two-way street. We need the governor, I think, to Adrian's point of view, to, come once, maybe a year, and also give us the kind of stamp of, this is by statute, the board that I have empowered to give, we need that too. So I have talked to Sarah about that kind of two-way thing that needs to happen, and getting more insight from Sarah about what the governor needs from us. So, sorry, Lindsay, that's just what I had for you. Martha?
Yes, thank you. I'm probably one of the newest folks on the board. And what I've been thinking about, is it part of our mission to influence policy? Yes or no? And if so, it sounds like that nexus is with the governor's office. Is there also a nexus with the local legislature and the federal delegation? Is that something that we do directly to have specific outcomes based on the knowledge we have across the board with everyone here at the table to come up with these solutions and be influencers in policy direction?
And Todd can correct me on this, but our role is through the governor. And so we do not do separate legal advocacy or legislative advocacy in the way that some other boards actually are designed to do. Some other boards out there are actually designed to do that. We are not. And so as a result, our influence really comes through our connection to the board or to the governor and those representatives that we have on the board. So we do have representatives on the board, and by representatives, I mean state representatives on the board who can take back the priorities that we talk about and advocate for them. So that piece is there, but it's not a direct piece. Would you say that's a good explanation, Todd?
Yeah,
I think
that's right. Yeah.
And that's a great explanation, because then it seems as if our real point of influence then is directly with the governor's office. And what I'm observing is evidently we haven't had as much contact with the governor as we would like to have in order to make sure that we're giving her that solid advice that she needs to really help prioritize workforce. Would that be an accurate statement, you think? Is that, Kim, I'm looking at you because you're my best buddy in all of this. So I'm just trying to figure out where the there is. Yeah.
We are an advisor to the governor. We cannot advocate for legislation without the approval of the governor. We can't, I mean, really, we have to go through, all roads lead to the governor. So we have to, and I'm so thrilled, Sherry, that you're meeting with Sarah. That's great. Sarah was, there was a lack of a staff person for a while when there was some transition in the governor's office. Vince Porter, who was a workforce before, was great, and he was super engaged. But then he was promoted. They hired somebody else. So there's been a little bit of transition. So I remain optimistic, but I do think that you are totally agree, Martha. That is yes.
Yeah. So that's what I need to understand, is that it seems as if we need to work towards more direct access, because that is our role, to advise the governor. And what I'm hearing is, because of transitions, that hasn't been happening as efficiently as possible. Would that be an accurate statement as well? Or no?
I don't know if it's just transitions. I mean, I think we philosophically, we are, really trying to change how the board interfaces and our positionality in the overall system. And so I don't think it's just staff changes. I think, again, it's a two-way street. One, we can provide a higher and better value to the governor, and by looking at her priorities, by having that data, by being the people who can give her a sense of the workforce landscape. But we also need the governor to put her stamp of approval, back us up, so is that. So David and then Todd.
Thank you.
Yeah, I was just going to echo a lot of what was already said, but maybe add a little bit. I do think when we're looking at it, and I think you've talked about this, Kim, about how we frame what we're doing and focus it on the governor's priorities, because I think the governor has been pretty clear about, from a policy perspective, what her big priorities are. Workforce is not one of the listed ones, but it certainly directly relates to a number of other ones in a lot of ways. You know, having good employment is key to combating long-term houselessness. All the other connections that we know are there. So I think that we are connected to those other policies, and framing our work and how it can support that, I think, would be effective. I also think we've had a lot of discussions as a board, and I'd agree, Sherry. I think over time I've seen this board want to be more active and more effective, which I think is great. And part of what my experience anyway, is that we have a lot of discussions about what that means and how we do it. And it's hard for us to kind of do that without either hearing assurance that, yes, that's the right direction, you kind of have my stamp of approval to go out there and do these things, or no, maybe I'd, rather that the board was going this other direction. I think it goes beyond the governor's office also, because we also have had difficulty, I think, getting sustained engagement from legislative members on the board, which, if we're talking about some of these big policy things and funding strategies and just keeping people informed about what the issues are, I don't know that we've had as much engagement there as might ultimately be helpful. And maybe that's a bit of a circular thing, where as we get more clear with our role and authority, we're able to be a little more effective and kind of be a more appealing place for legislators to come to get educated about workforce things and how best to influence them.
Thanks, David. Todd?
Yeah, I was just listening and trying to kind of do what you just did back upstream, Sherry, and share some sort of positive thinking here. In terms of engaging with the governor at least once a year, I know Sherry remembers this because I think she and I have been on the board about the longest, now going on a decade, and have known each other for a long time. And one of the things that Governor Brown did in the previous administration, in conjunction with Sherry and Ken Madden's leadership, was designate the December WTDB meeting as sort of the governor's agenda, governor's meeting. So for several years, we did that. And I don't know, Sherry, if you think back on that, how you thought that might have worked, but we did get fairly consistent traction for several years with that once per year.
I think
with the governor's office.
Yeah, I think it would be a great idea. I know that with Governor Brown, did she make it to one or two? I mean, I know that there was always like, a conflict. So
Yeah,
we did.
I think 2 or 3 in
Yeah.
person. And she also attend virtually because she's so
Yeah.
busy.
Yeah. So there was that, but I think that's a great idea. I think going back to that model and designating a governor's agenda where we hear from the governor, where we get to interact with the governor, I think that would be a great idea. I think it's an excellent idea. Uh-huh.
So I'm not seeing any other hands right now, and I want to be cognizant of the time. So Todd, you let me know when we need to wrap it up. But a couple things I do want to just catch and make sure that I heard right. First of all, Kim, I'm really glad that you did bring up the KIC report, because certainly in my interviews, this has come up quite a bit of now what? And so what is happening, with this, and how do we actually make the recommendations real, or how do we actually even create an understanding that this assessment has been done, and it was an assessment that was done with integrity and time and resources, and it is fresh, right? I mean, the report was just issued in December, so I appreciate that is on the table, because as we go into the strategic planning and the scorecard, I do want to make sure that different pieces that are of highest relevance and that are fresh are being pulled into that. The other thing I wanted to just highlight, David, I appreciate that you call out that workforce is not one of the top stated priorities, but how do we potentially hook workforce as a priority to those priorities and really call attention to, what needs to be put in place for job seekers and employers and education and training in order to accomplish some of the priorities that might be at the top of the list. So that I think also I will work on pulling into our retreat potentially for the strategic planning. If there are any other comments, I'd love to hear them. Certainly, I will maybe just make one final comment that I hear a little bit today, and I've certainly heard in interviews. And that is really, again, trying to answer the question, what can we impact? And in answering that, are there things that we should be letting go? That's always a question, isn't it, for every organization and entity going through this process. In reflection on the last strategic plan, I am hearing an interest in, across our imperatives, how do we really pick the one or two things that are really going to be the biggest impact and that our distinct value and value add will play to and make happen. And so, Sherry, maybe that also aligns with your comment of what really are those 5 to 10 things that we need to be focused on that we could articulate into a scorecard that will also align and help support the priorities of the governor and get the governor's ear more effectively to you as a governor's board.
Yeah,
So,
and
final thoughts. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, for me, I think my big takeaways is that we as a board, as the new board chair, my big concern is also engagement. I want board members on this board to know that they are having an impact, and they do. But the problem has been that I feel like our impact can get lost in the wash. And I think it is important that we have buy-in from the executive branch, that we have agency heads and others participate in these meetings, because to your point, the state board has been an incubator for many of the biggest pieces of workforce, either legislation or work that have happened in the state, and yet that's not commonly either known or seen, even by folks within the system, even by folks within the agency that that we're a part of somehow, heck, and I think that can't be undone without that participation. And I think the kick is a great opportunity for us to move that forward, and to use that as part of our leverage. As far as what those things should be, I think at least two of them, we definitely, 1 to 2, we want to make sure we are in line with the governor's priorities. And I think we are. I think we can look at things like potentially, oh, somebody's unmuted and I don't know who that is, but I think we can look at things like uh, construction trades, if that is one of hers, or housing construction. I think that's one. I think we can look at, we do need to make sure that we don't have to do all of them, but I think we should have 1 to 2 of them that we are tracking, we are knowing the landscape, we are helping create that data that feeds into what she needs. And then me personally, I think it would be great for us to have things that circle around all of workforce, just as we were talking about today, the skills-based learning, the opportunities for young people to learn and move into work. I think we need to connect to housing and childcare also. So these are some, as they relate specifically to workforce. So, but yeah, those are just my thoughts. And what I would love to see, I guess, is, Lindsay, from the notes that you got from talking to folks, what has risen to the top from multiple conversations. I think that might be a good way to go forward.
Great. And so that's perfect because I did want to give all of you just an update on what to expect from my work and involvement. And so I will be finishing up the interviews and we will be heading into just a half-day visioning retreat for the executive committee on March 4th. After that, we have scheduled 3 virtual planning sessions that will probably be 2 hours each. And those are on consecutive Fridays in March. After that, we will have a chance to do, I will do some surveys and some follow-up of any missing stakeholders. We hope really by then to have a draft strategic plan and scorecard, and really by the end of April, have something that you all really feel good about and that will be high impact. So you will receive a synthesis of all of the interviews and comments prior to the March 4th retreat, because certainly that is going to be used to inform the retreat. And then I will be synthesizing all along the way, especially because we will have the virtual planning sessions, again, 1 week apart all through March. So there will be opportunities for you to look and reflect on what I'm hearing and where you all are driving this as we go. Any
That's
questions on
awesome. Yeah.
timeline? Okay, great.
Thank you. Any other questions, Todd?
Yeah, thank you, Sherry. Just a quick comment and a big shout out and thank you to Adrian Bennings for being willing to host that March 4th meeting at Portland Community College. So thank you so much, Adrian. Look for more to come from Aaliyah on that, but there'll be a working lunch and a nice, I'm sure, informative, engaging session that Lindsay will lead to help us get to that 2025-2026 strat plan and scorecard. So thank you all for being here today. And thank you, Lindsay, for all the great work that you're doing.
Thank you.
Great. All right. Well, thank you. Do we have anything else? Any body on the executive committee have anything they want to share? Anything they want us to know? Anything related to what we talked about today? Martha?
Yeah, I did want to let you know that March 4th, I'll be in Washington, D.C., but if you have a virtual opportunity, I can try, and I would really like to be part of this retreat so we can move ahead with a really solid strategic plan. So if there's a virtual opportunity, that would be really helpful. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
There will be, Martha. We'll have virtual available. We're trying, Lindsay and I talked about it. We'd really like as many of you to be there in person as possible, but we're, sensitive and cognizant of the fact that without virtual, we won't get as many folks to participate. So thanks.
All right. Anything else?
David has his hand up.
Oh, David, sorry, I missed your.
Just
David, you're breaking up. Is it just me? Is it just me? David is.
No, he is breaking. He's breaking up over here too.
Okay. Yeah, David, we see you, but you're frozen now. Okay, let's see.
Is it better when I turn the video off?
We can hear you, yeah.
Okay. It only happens when I'm in the office connected to the state network. So sorry. I hope to give a more detailed update at our next full meeting, but just a quick heads up for folks that we're going through our budget process and kind of to your earlier question, Sherry, to Donna Llewellyn, we haven't seen any direct impact to most of our workforce programs from federal activity. However, we had been hoping towards the end of last year that the Trade Adjustment Act would be reauthorized at sunset in 2022. It has not, which means we're expecting the funding for that program to go way down. Some folks probably know it's something that helps us give a lot of additional wraparound support to people who become unemployed because of the impacts of foreign trade. And that program, we're having to basically phase it out. It's about just under 100 positions at the employment department. So I can give more details later. We're not losing any people. We're able to shift them, we think, into other positions, but it means one of the supports that was out there that was actually a really effective one for people that were in that category just won't be available much going forward. Sorry to end on bad news, but wanted to keep everybody informed.
There's an old blues song. If it wasn't for bad news, there'd be no news at all. So that's it. So, all right. Well, thank you all for hanging with us. Anything else? Anything else? All right. Okay. We will adjourn. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Sherry.
Mm-hmm.